Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So another video I'll be doing is this time the feeling of overcoming challenges, adversities, especially in high school in particular now. Let's get right to this video. Remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, share my videos and comment on my video as well. Let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever get to a point where you constantly keep going through stuff and then you say to yourself whenever you keep going through it and you have a long stretch where you seem like things weren't going your way or flowing and you say to yourself, oh my goodness me, how the heck am I get through all of this crap, man? This is messy. I don't know what to do. I just feel like giving up. I can't bother. I just want to throw it in the towel. I say that to say is because in high school, more I I've been looking back at it even to this day because yo I don't know how I would say a couple things. I had support of God and my mental toughness and the fact that I was a fighter. I'm a fighter. Still I'm a fighter to this day. Actually those stuff challenges that I went in high school actually made me a fighter. Whether I had to go through bullying, person targeting me, for whatever reason I had at that time was because they thought I was weak or they didn't like me or maybe they were intimidated by me, which I didn't even know until I look at it again to know to that was another possible reason I didn't even consider. And I'm like, at the time, I mean, person constantly calling you handicap, your guns and things like that. I mean, those things can bother you after a stretch if you keep calling it that. And this notion that words don't hurt is ridiculous. You guys can tell me what you think about that part. But this notion that words don't hurt is ridiculous to me. I mean, can you know it? Sure. But the question is, what if it keep happening? Because a person would do what you allow. I learned that the hard way because that's what I did in the first place. When I get to the place where I had to start to stand up for myself because it was getting ridiculous and clearly was not going to stop picking on me. So I had to get to a place where I had to be in their face because person's faces from time to time. I was a male or female because it didn't matter who it was. I would say this: I was that one person that will go toe to toe with anybody. Heck, if I really needed to prove a point and I had to go as far to get in a fight just to prove a point, even though I knew if I get in the fight, physically, I get suspended. So, but I probably in my mind was willing to take one suspension at least to prove a point. But I learned later it wasn't really worth it to get into a physical fight. So it's better off getting a verbally than physical because I would say this based on my experience, most fights, especially physically, it starts verbally first. It doesn't just getting a physical fight like that. It starts verbally. I all it takes to get physical, it doesn't really take much. It depends on the type of person you're dealing with. If you're dealing with that type of person that if you trigger them, they get physical, then you probably have to watch what you say to them because anything goes after that. So it was extremely challenging because, especially mentally, because once I come home, most of the time it was like, yo, I got to a place where I was like, I don't know if things were flowing, man. It was just that's how ridiculous it gotten, cause. But I will say, despite whatever challenge that I had faced, whether it's the bullying as I just mentioned, or a person constantly keep picking, or other challenges, person misunderstanding me, misunderstood me, and I mean, I will say this: despite all those challenges, I can say that I have achieved a lot in high school. That's for sure. I achieved a lot. I got principal awards, multiple principals, like 5, 6 principal awards. I won the most disciplined students award 3 times. That was from 2015 to 2017, 3 years straight. So from 9th grade to 11th grade, I won that award. The first time I ever got the principal award was like in grade 7. Funny enough, I was the only male that got a principal one in 7th grade. I was the only male. It was mostly females. The the first term, the principal award part, it kept in the second term, where we had a principal award in the second term. When after the first term result came out and since that when I followed, I topped the class and everything. The principal at that time, it was me and a female. It was just two of us. That time it was just me and a female only. A female had gotten 13 years. A girl was late, just good as heck. Yo, imagine if I was in the same class with her. I mean, do I wish I was in the same class with her? Yeah, because when I reached 8th grade, I would talk about, I was going to be in the practice class. I mean, I was willing to embrace the challenge to be in the class with like female and stuff like that, because the persons that I keep beating, I felt like if that meant I flat say it in my mind, it's just like I just know any time we'll be in the same class, the result will be the same. All I had to do is just keep being at the best and keep working. Challenge part was, I would say this, another challenge. When you're at the top, persons will do anything to try to throw you off the top. So they have to try to get to you or pick on you per se and stuff like that to make sure you're not in. If a person sees you as a threat in terms of topping the class, which I always was from 7th grade to 9th grade, I was always a threat. I was from the first term. I was a threat. Person in my class knew this. Even after the second term and I topped the class again. After that, and persons in the same class with me, 8th grade, I mean, and some of those same persons, same class with me, and some other students I wasn't in class with before. And after I topped the class again in the second term, after I came second, I mean, it felt good being in the top 2 range, but we bounced off the top. I mean, another thing about it, topping the class after came in second, and I got the principal after missing the first one in 8th grade. It really felt good. Got back on top. And I said to this guy, either me or you was gonna come first. That was in 8th grade. Before the Easter end of term, I said this before that. And then I got my business. I would say this, if you know you're in a competition with somebody, it doesn't matter if it's academic or sports or game, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're at the top of whatever you're at, and somebody's coming for you, the complacency thing is you can't afford to be complacent, because if somebody you know is trying, there were 2 persons or 3 persons who I can say was the biggest threat in 8th grade. The other persons, for me, not so much. I didn't really concern with, because the biggest was the guy that beat me in the first term in 8th grade. So that was one time I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to take him seriously. Got it. I got the wake up call per se. So, and I took it serious. If someone knock you off your crown, then you know, say, without a shadow of that person is the biggest threat. Like I said, I had multiple persons. And I remember in 9th grade, funny enough, this guy who was in the classroom from 7th grade, he never said this until 9th grade, which is funny. He said, we were in IT class, he said, I'm going to take away Larry title. I was like, in my mind, okay. From that moment, I was like, okay. You see, you can tell when somebody's trying to come for you, your crown, you know. Whether they say it verbally or not, you just have to pay attention, I would say. There's signs there. There's always signs that somebody is willing to do anything to try and beat you. I was so good. It's almost like the only thing that persons had to try to do is try to lower my self-esteem. Crap. To try and lower my self-esteem, but nevertheless, come exam time, somehow, like I said, I don't really give myself enough credit for this. Maybe you guys can tell me in the comments down below, but yo, despite everything, and I still going there at my best, that was the only time I didn't really have to worry about being picked on or targeted. And funny enough, some persons, before exam, some person will come up to me before I said, want to give me answer in the exam. I was like in my head, if you want my help, you ask me before the exam. I was like, man, listen, when it comes to exams, if you want to ask me for help, cool, you can ask me for the help. But during the exam, I don't want nobody to distract me. I want to be locked in and focus on what I'm doing. And I really asked anybody because I didn't really need to. Because I put myself in a position to be prepared. Like I said, when you're at the top, you gotta to stay at the top, you gotta be consistent. You know? You don't have to be perfect by any means, but you need to be consistent, especially when it matters most. When you absolutely have to. What I'm saying is, and I talk about consistency on my YouTube channel. The importance of it is extremely important, especially when you're at the top. Person who is the best at something, they're consistent. They're not perfect by any means, like I said, but they're consistent when they absolutely need it to. And more often than the reason why I was able to talk because each time because I was consistent when I absolutely needed to be. And it's not like I didn't know that person were coming from me because the signs were there. I just needed to pay attention, you know? And I got a couple wake up calls that ultimately I just like, okay, gotta take this serious because especially anything. If you're playing a sport and you're constantly repeating, if you're the champion of that thing, whether it's a team sport, individual sport, just know that person's gonna come for your butt. If you're at the top, you're gonna constantly be challenged, one way or another. You can't avoid it, and it doesn't matter. Like I said, whether it's academically, for anything else in general, you're gonna be constantly challenged until they beat you. Once a person see you're the threat or the major threat in there, then like I said, from seventh grade, person knew I was a threat. They can't say it otherwise. They can't say, oh, Lauren wasn't okay. He's not a threat to us. He can't. I don't even remember in mind. Even after turn, they know it's obvious. You get to a point where it's like, I'm sure Lauren to come personal. Aye. And I would say just to be able to overcome the challenges that I have faced, and I faced many challenges in high school, over constant confrontation, and I overcome it term after term after term, and even thinking where I wasn't at my best, and I overcame, and even though I wasn't getting A's like I used to, I still able to pass my exam, I still able to advance to the next grade without actually repeating. The only grade I came close to repeating was the 11th grade. Every grade else was confusing. You know what I mean? And even when I failed most of my CSCs, somehow, I got up from that and recovered and got back up and continued what I was doing and got to this form barely. But listen, I would say this for if you're not facing any challenges or adversities, you're not living a good life. And apparently, despite what I went to in high school, apparently I was living a good life in high school. I was living a good life in high school the whole time, and I didn't even really see it like that at first. Until now, until reflecting on it. So, I was always living a good life in high school, man. Just the constant challenges and challenges I overcame, I can say ultimately made me who I am today. Most of all those challenges that I just talk about, the bullying and everything else, the feeling of being at the top of a class, the feeling of getting the highest in an exam and things like that. If I didn't experience a disappointment, I'm not getting some principal awards and things like that. All of those challenges and failures and disappointment made me who I am today. And even though in college, which I'm going to talk about feeling overcoming challenges in college, because challenges in college, a different kind of fish. When I talk about it when it's outside, man. So, my YouTube channel. So remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on notification for upcoming videos. Have a good night.